is Tiffany Winman with IBM. I'm a IBM Software Social Media, and this is
Boz.
And you are
Chief Architect for Collaboration for the IBM CIO.
Okay, great. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was how you felt about the Danah?
I think it's Danah.
Danah Boyd's keynote at South by Southwest. I loved it, of course, but then you were.
I was ambivalent. I have to say that I loved almost all of it. I thought the ethnography was brilliant. A lot of the diagnosis of the problems of privacy was great. And I really admire, I have to say on a personal level, I admire her activism and what she's trying to accomplish in taking on this research challenge. My issue had to do with the recommendations, which I thought were decidedly not activist.
And then just to clarify for the audience, she was talking about privacy
privacy and publicity. Yeah. So it's this question of, there are these continuing cases where large social media web properties are having privacy fails. And what do you do about that? What does this tell us about the privacy interests of end users, especially those in vulnerable categories? And so on that, I thought her ethnography was really brilliant. I've heard a lot of people say these things, but she's probably explained it better than anyone else.
One of the things I like too is she talks about the difference between PII and PEI. So PII being
personally identifiable information versus personally embarrassing
information. So things like that you're sharing on Facebook, they don't just because it's like you want this, you're sharing it publicly, but you want it in a private space. Typically, you don't expect that it gets reused, and in a way that would actually hurt you in the end. So she talks a lot about that. And for me, that raises a lot of problems that I have with using Facebook for business. Not that I would say absolutely don't use it, but it poses a lot of challenges. In some cases, if it's not well thought through, it has more risk than it does benefit.
Sure. Yeah. And so, the framework she's using, the reason why I didn't think was activist, apart from the content of the recommendations themselves, was the framework is really about the prevention of harm, rather than, and she talks about providing control to end users, but it's all within the existing technical framework that the web has established for how end users control privacy. We'll give you some options. We just need to do a better job of, when we have a privacy fail, of understanding.
This was her recommendation.
This was her recommendation. Engage with end users, really study it carefully, try to get a
help them understand what they're doing and the implications of it.
And
we'll try to work it through with you.
And make a choice, and then once you've made your choice, then the information goes where the information goes. So I see this as a massive hole. And where it's not activist, right? So she says.
You were saying that you disagreed with that because you were thinking of a broader solution that would actually enable more what her strategic framework was. It wasn't an activist approach.
Right. So some technologists might look at that. If they agree with her diagnosis of the problem, they might say, well, the issue is that once it's out there on the internet, there's no getting it back, right? And that's only given the current technology framework. It's certainly possible to think of technologies that might allow people to recover some of their privacy after things have slipped out. Now, a lot of the major web properties she mentions, she says there's nothing fundamentally technically wrong with their technology. Well, that's only within the given framework where we're thinking about it. If you think about it differently, why are we offering services to end users where they are capable of making a mistake? The whole argument is they can make mistakes they don't understand. And once they make that mistake, their information is out and, there's nothing we can do. That's the current approach. Right? And so why are they even offering the services in the first place if they can't provide that control to end users? Another way to think about it is to think up front. What if the user makes a mistake? How can they recover their privacy?
And how can that then be syndicated to all the different places that might be using the content?
Right, so we see in many of these web properties, they have APIs, right? And they say once the information goes out past the API, that's it, there's nothing more we can do. And that's a choice they're making, is the point that they're making. Activist, technical agenda on that wouldn't say, we're going to try to understand privacy and help them understand. We're going to make it so that even if they don't understand, they can fix it, right? that's a much more activist agenda. And so it might mean new industry standards that would create whole categories of new companies. And that'd be great for jobs, it'd be great for end users, it'd be great for the companies offering the major social media capabilities we use today. It might be sort of a movement, a crowdsourcing approach, or a groundswell for what are the ideas that will allow us to really truly fix what the real problem is, which is that one of the real problems, which is once information gets out in the wild, there's nothing to do.
So the proposal from your end is more of a technologist view that says we should be coming up with technologies that help, if information gets used, there's agreements of that information is looked at more from a life cycle point of view, so that if an individual wants to change their information later, it goes out to all these different places, these places, and people say if you're going to use this information, then you also need the ability for us to change or fix it later as the individual comes to know.
Sure. So the public APIs and just standard things like RSS and Atom that allow syndication of information, they have none of this was anticipated that this would be a problem. And so it's understandable that they don't have the features that would allow that. But we don't have to accept technology the way that it exists.
I mean, change the world.
We can change.
We can make a smarter planet.
Right, exactly.
So one of the things, though, that I think we might want to think through more, though, is if that does start to become a solution, like an ability to change information once it's been syndicated, what types of challenges does that then pose for people who have been using it? I mean, I just think that would be the next kind of level of thinking through some of that.
Right. Well, I'll take it as a given that if somebody offers their information, freely offers their information, and somebody else can make a living or make a profit off of somebody else's freely offered information, that's a good thing. Now the question is, do you offer that information for free once and for all time and say there's nothing I can do if there's a problem, or do you provide some way to remediate that? This is a standard technical pattern that exists to be able to fix that. In service-oriented architecture, they call it compensation, taking information back where it needs to be taken back because there's a problem. And I would imagine, in the long run, if we could get to that kind of a technical approach, it'd be better for the companies that are consuming the information because they wouldn't be creating problems that would cause people to drop out and lose trust altogether. So we'd actually see much greater participation than we see today.
And overall, it would be a win-win for everybody. A win-win for the companies, for the individuals, and for something like Twitter.
Yeah, because the value would accrue to people no matter the life changes that happen to them, no matter where you are in the life cycle. And so I think this opens up a whole slew of new business opportunities for people who work with the major social media web properties, right? And also for those web properties. I mean, they could, in very short order, say, unless you can do A, B, or C requirements to be able to pull back information where it needs to, you can't use our APIs. And put the challenge to these really creative social media companies, the smaller companies, to consume that information. It's a readily tractable problem.
Also, I'd say something like this might go to John Awada, where they're talking about there's this new kind of consortium or group coming together to build out some social computing policies in this new era.
Right. In the era of mashups and syndication and aggregation, in industry standard, one way to solve this problem, or at least make tremendous progress. It doesn't solve everything she's talking about, but it's not the kind of thing that's going to occur to an ethnographer, right? But an ethnographer shouldn't be saying nothing that the Buzz team did was technologically wrong when clearly there's sentiment to say otherwise.
Well, thank you for sharing. It was great.
Thank you.